Hi everyone, back tuning into today's video. We're going to have a look at weather for the coming week to 10 days. In today's video, had a very cold GFS run turn up overnight. We'll have a look at all the detail on that in a moment. Looks like it's a bit of an outlier, but we will have a check on all the detail in a moment. Now, before I go on, let's just talk about the advertising. There's video ads on my page at gazweathervids.com. If you hit play on the video ad, you'll be supporting gazweathervids.com. Thanks very much for doing that. Gaz Shop is open, so if you want to do any Christmas shopping at Amazon, click through the Amazon banners. That's the key. Click through the Amazon banners in Gaz Shop. You'll go through to Amazon. You can do your Christmas shopping there as normal, but at the same time, Gaz Weathervids will get a royalty fee on anything you purchase. These things do make a big difference to the website. So thanks for getting involved. Thanks for supporting the website. Thanks very much for doing that. So we're going to start off with the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles, just to show where we are and where things could be going. So the red line here, this is very important, but you need to know about this. Red line is where we should be in terms of the temperature anomalies, the temperature anomaly at this time of the year, and we're pretty mild at the moment. All members of the ensemble are above that red line. This is for the upper atmosphere though, so that's the caveat. At this time of year in particular, the upper air temperatures are perhaps not necessarily a reflection of what's going on down on the surface. For instance, right now where I am, we're in thick fog, so if that was to continue all day, if the fog was to persist all day, I don't think it will, but if it did, it would be a lot colder on the surface in the fog than the upper air temperatures, which are quite warm, are suggesting. So that's always the thing that you have to keep in mind about upper air temperatures through winter. Not always a reflection on what's actually happening down on the surface, particularly under high pressure conditions. Anyway, we're pretty mild in terms of the upper air temperatures at the moment. They're going to be going colder as we go through into Friday and the weekend. Of course, it's well heralded, but we're going to bring cold front down and turn it a bit colder. Then high pressure will build back in over the weekend, and temperatures in the upper air will lift up with that high pressure again. And then we sort of go back to cooler conditions, perhaps around around the middle, I should say, of next week. But beyond that, there is the chance of to bring down some very much colder weather. So beyond the 5th, when the 5th of December is just here, we get this big split occurring in the temperature ensemble. Some are still staying quite mild, but a lot of the members of the ensemble do go cold at least for 2 or 3 days. And then they pick up again. Many of the members of the ensemble do pick up again. Once you get through to around the 8th, 9th, 10th of December, something like that, signs that we lose the cold feeder there and probably lift the temperatures up once more. But I want you to focus on this thick green line just here. That's a very cold member of the ensemble, and that is actually the operational run of the GFS model. And the operational run is the one that we use for the videos, the ones that the charts come from, run at a higher resolution than all the other members of the ensemble. So in theory, the operational run, because it's run at a higher resolution, should be the most reliable member of the ensemble. But this is clearly an outlier. You can see that because there's virtually no support from any other member of the ensemble for keeping the cold going for many days, like that green member, the operational member of the ensemble, does. Now, that doesn't mean that the operational is wrong, it just means it hasn't got any support. But because it's run at a higher resolution, you do have to take it seriously. You always take the operational runs of the model seriously, if they run at high resolutions. It could be that the other members of the ensemble will start to support that scenario as we go through the next few updates of the GFS model. But anyway, it's an outlier this morning in terms of keeping it cold for several days like that. The temperature anomalies for the next week show we're going to be colder than average, the 28th to the 5th of December. Yep, we're in the blue coast more or less, although Scotland just about near normal, but most of the country will be slightly cooler than average. Most of Central Western Europe as well is going to be cold and average, be moderate than average conditions, restricted really to Scandinavia and western parts of Russia. So let's have a look at that GFS run in detail. This is the 4th of December, next Wednesday, and by then we see we've still got the high pressure sitting just to the west of the country, so barely any change from the scenario now, still bringing the milder air around the top of that high pressure, though probably on the surface, particularly if you're under fog and frost, it won't be particularly mild, but certainly nothing particularly cold at that stage through the middle of next week. nor is there up to Thursday the 5th, but as we get through to Friday the 6th, that's when things start to change. So just in about a week's time, a week tomorrow, it suggests that will take that high pressure out into the Atlantic, begin to push it up north, and we're opening the floodgates then to this northerly wind to come blasting down across the country. By the time we get through to day 10, Sunday the 8th of December, where I've got a really good reach of air going through the Atlantic, stretching up towards Greenland, bring down this very, very cold northerly wind across the country. That will be bringing the risk of snow showers to just about all parts of the country, but particularly to the north and the east. Really cold air coming down with that northerly wind as well. And then beyond that, as we go through to Monday the 9th, don't normally go through this far, but just quickly show you what it is showing for Monday the 9th, where we keep that northerly, very cold air, with risk of more snow in the north and the east. And it just goes on into Tuesday the 10th, and finally, we end up at Thursday the 12th. Still in a very cold air mass, and what's happening now is the high pressure is beginning to topple down across the country, but it's trying to ridge up towards Scandinavia. So that is just about trying to set up an easterly flow across the country. As I say, there's no real support within the GFS ensemble for this scenario, this extended cold period, starting from the 6th and still going on by the 12th or 13th of December. There's no real support for it in the GFS ensemble, so you have to take this with a huge pinch of salt, but some excuse me, some very interesting charts there anyway. The ECMWF for Thursday the 5th shows that we've got this map to ridge of high pressure out to the west, low pressure up to the northwest. This is the trigger low that brings that northerly. So as we go through to Friday the 6th, well, yeah, the ECMWF does agree that we get that northerly blasting down across the country, the mid-Atlantic ridge extending from Greenland up to extending from the Atlantic up to Greenland. That northerly would be bringing the risk of snow showers to the north and the east of the country. As we move through to Saturday the 7th, well, yeah, we're in a definite northerly flow then, very cold blast coming down across the country with that very extensive ridge of high pressure in the Atlantic. But by day 10, Sunday the 8th, there's just signs already that high pressure is beginning to start to topple in across the country and starting to cut off that northerly flow. So the ECMWF doesn't agree with the GFS this morning that we're going to extend this cold snap up beyond 2 or 3 days. I don't think that high pressure slipping back down across the country would imply, but eventually we'd start to bring milder air over the top of the high pressure once again. So, as I say, the GFS very much on its own with that very prolonged cold spell, but it's setting up on its operational run this morning. Finally, the GEM, the Canadian model, shows that for Thursday the 5th, well, there's a high pressure sitting over the country. Now, interestingly, the GEM does not ridge the high pressure out in the Atlantic and does not bring us that northerly on Friday the 6th and Saturday the 7th. GFS and ECM are both bringing a northerly at this point, but the GEM does not. It keeps a high pressure more or less to the south of the country, low pressure up to the north. We've got a westerly flow, a mild flow coming in. By day 10, just signs that we've got a very half-hearted northerly trying to start up then across Scotland and Northern, but the heights are still high to the south through Spain, Portugal, France. We've still got high pressure. As long as that high pressure is sitting there, it's acting as a block to this northerly coming down across the country. So that's a big caveat that we have to throw in as well, that the Canadian model is not seeing this northerly really getting going at all at the end of next week, until we've got all the models in agreement on this northerly. Even the northerly itself has to be, there has to be an element of doubt about it. Never mind how long it lasts for. We've got to get the northerly established first, and the GEM doesn't really do it. I think that's probably wrong, though. I would suspect that the GFS and the ECMWF have got this right, and we will get some sort of a northerly push later next week, probably Friday into the weekend of the 7th and the 8th of December. But whether it lasts as long as the GFS wants to extend it out more or less towards the middle of December, I'm not at all sure about that. We have got to really see the GFS ensemble starting to agree with its operational run, and see the ECMWF picking up on it as well. But nevertheless, very interesting trends this morning. Some sort of cold snap seems very likely later next week, with the chance of wintry conditions. And we'll see how it goes. I'll be updating probably the blog tonight, and of course tomorrow we've got the long range update from the JMA mod, which is always very useful. I rate the JMA really highly, so I'll have a long range update tomorrow. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.